Heading into this very important test match here in Cape Town, of course, was it a difficult team to pick? Was it just simply a case of replacing the guys that were out?
I mean, the game on Tuesday probably made it a little bit clearer, I guess. We had some guys had massive performances on Tuesday, but the fact that I've played 80 minutes at altitude meant that it's probably not ideal that they come into the group, especially if they had to play big minutes. So we've gone with a group of guys who are fresh. And I think 5 of the guys on the bench played a bit of game time on Tuesday. So I would say we had really good discussions, but the fact that we had a fresh group who also trained together on Tuesday made sense to pick this team.
I know that you have approached this whole job and this whole tour in a very humble way, knowing the challenge that awaits on Saturday, even getting over the euphoria of the first test. 12 of the 23 that you have picked played in Wellington last year, so they're very aware more than anyone of the backlash that is potentially coming this weekend. How much have you spoken about that with your players before the game?
Look, we're aware of what, I guess the potential bounce back. Obviously they'll be really disappointed with last weekend, so there's obviously been a lot of talk around how they bounced back last year. Look, we've touched on it. We're well aware that Springboks at their best are tough to beat anywhere. So. But we've talked a lot about us being better. We think we can be a lot better than we were last weekend, and so that's the key. We've got to be able to lift our level. We know they're going to be better, but we don't want to focus totally on what South Africa are going to bring. We want to focus on what we can bring.
Whereabouts do you think you can get there, and where do you want to get?
I think in the contact area, especially early when they're full of energy, where we struggle to get go forward. And so we need to be a lot better around that area. Discipline-wise, we give away just way too many soft penalties, especially early in the game, which is disappointing because it's something we'd spoken about. You give them easy entry into your 22, so that needs to be better. I think scrum-wise, we've spoken with World Rugby around a couple of issues from our point of view, and so we think scrum wise will be a lot better, and that was a massive in for them last week. So there are elements that we need to be better, and I think our energy and our scramble. I think we held them up over the line a couple of times. Obviously Malcolm lost the ball going over at once, so they had plenty of time in our 22, but there was plenty of energy and heart, and we need more of that.
So what's the rationale behind switching the wingers around this week?
It was a really tight choice even last week. Both those boys played against the Bulls and played really well. And we felt, Josh had started the Irish game and went very well in his previous 2 tests. So, there's not much in that. I think, if you looked at Leroy, probably a better defender, and we think that'll be important.
Change in referee for this weekend, does that change anything for you?
No, nothing really. I think those guys have been all over it. Angus was going to be involved on the edge anyway, and so they've been having discussions based on, I'd imagine, things that South Africa has sent in or questioned, and likewise with us. So, no, I don't think it changes much.
Dave, you spoke about the contact there. I think you had 100 or so less post-contact meters in the box. How can you improve it as a simple focus?
Yep. Probably not going to tell you tactically how we're doing that, but it's it's been a real focus. I like the big men, and when they're full of energy, if they can get 2 in a tackle, it's hard to get go forward meters. So sometimes you just need a bar up, carry hard, and win races and support to generate quick ball. And Yeah, but we still want to be able to play at a tempo that will give us opportunities, and they did a really good job of denying us gain line and lightning quick ball early in that game.
Dave,
Dave, there's a lot of talk about the Springbok backlash, but what does that actually look like to you? What does their backlash look like?
Well, probably better asking them. I think they'll just try and do what they did last week, but try and do it better. So I think their mind sort of be attack us at set piece, put more ball in the air, try and get a big wall in front of us, and try and spend as much time in our 22 as they can. So, but Rusty's in a better position to let you know exactly what that looks like.
Dave, why did you decide to move Tupu into lock and bring Simon into the loose trio? What was the reasoning around that decision?
I had a little bit to do with the game on Tuesday. Obviously, both our locks played, both our fresh locks played in that. We still think that we can utilise Toops on the edge and Simon in the middle of the park. So where Simon's excellent. So with a lot of hard stuff, defending and cleaning out and so on, and still leave Toops to play the role that he played as a six.
As Simon didn't play at all during July, has he played himself back into this position, or is this a specific pick for the sort of match you're expecting from the Springboks?
Yeah, look, he really suits us playing the Africans, and it's been a big part of the reason why we brought him in late last week. And he was excellent against the Bulls. So he's physical. He gives us a bit of size at six, especially with Toops moving in. So we've still got a little bit of X factor on the bench that we can change the game late. So but Simon's been really good on tour.
Dave, in the context of the series, obviously it's a huge game and then you can't lose the series if you win on the weekend, but how much is that a part of the thinking in going into the weekend, and does the winner of the series, is that side rightfully determined the best side in World Rugby? Is that something you think about?
We haven't talked at all about the series. I'm not remotely interested in world rankings. I don't even understand them. And they can change on a whim somehow. So I think it counts for very little. You win a World Cup, you're a world champion, and you've got that tag for 4 years. So our focus is on the 80 minutes on Saturday.
Dave, how do you think, now that the provincial games are done, the injuries are kind of mounting on your side for the remaining 3 games and physicality? Do you have a rotational thinking in mind, or is it you have your core team and you're just going to try to play them through all 3 games?
No, look, I genuinely believe we'll end up using 30-odd players in this series. We've had a couple of guys who are out with injury, obviously from last weekend, and they'll potentially come back into the mix, test 3. But it's a nice thought that we've now got a whole squad just preparing for a test on Saturday, and so that'll help, I think. And we've got plenty of numbers here. We're a bit thin on Tuesday, but now that it's just test footy, we've got 40 fit players, so plenty to pick from.
Dave, George Bauer comes into the starting squad. Just what did you make of his contribution last weekend, and what have you asked of him this week?
Oh, look, nothing more of what we expected of him last week. So, as I mentioned post-game, he's such a good man. He's a big personality within the group, and just fantastic to see him having a big impact on the game. So, that's certainly a focus. We know the scrum will be a big part of the game again, and he did a really good job there.
Dave, sorry. You've spoken a lot about what it is you might need to improve on, and I'm not expecting you to give tactics away. But what is the biggest mistake that the All Blacks can make on Saturday?
The biggest mistake?
Yeah.
Well, this is not going to happen, but us thinking that what we did last week would be enough to win this week. And that's what I'm saying. I think we can be a lot better. We're expecting South Africa to be a lot better. So it's having that mindset that we're going to have to go deeper this week.
The back.
Dave, the bookmakers have a spread of 7.5 points. Is it going to be that close?
God, I mean, I'd take a 1-point win. So, yeah, well, it was a 7.5 spread. Which way?
Both ways.
Both ways.
Plus or minus.
Yeah, oh God, it's hard to say, because, it could be an absolute arm wrestle, and both sides have got enough X factor. I guess like we did last week, we finished pretty strong in what really was a very tight match. So I'll keep away from the bookies. I'm not even allowed to look at that sort of stuff.
Dave, Cole Preston's played every match on this tour. Just comment on him, and also how far away is Cortez from Pinkford?
Yeah, we bought 3 halfbacks away, thinking that it'd be enough to share the load, and then Cam's only played one of those games. So, but it's been good for those other guys. They've played a lot of footy, and then obviously, you look at KP. We were keen to give him some footy on Tuesday because he only got about 7 or 8 minutes in the test. So it was good to get 30 minutes into him, and likewise Anton Leonard-Brown, Pete Larkai. They would have done more than that on a training run if they trained on Tuesday. So yeah, he's been good. KP, he suits our game. He's really quick to the breakdown. He's abrasive. He's got a really good skill set. So that's pleasing for him. And the other question was what?
How far is Cortez likely to test 3?
He's coming through pretty quickly. It's a PCL. So the issue with that would be an impact, like landing hard on the knee on the ground. And so the longer we leave him, the stronger that'll get. So yeah, he's definitely a chance for the third test. But we'll have to make a call on that.
Dave, can I ask you a question about Anton Segner? Is there any update there? I mean, it was just such an awful story that he was picked for that first test and then he misses out. What's happening with him at the moment?
He'll be going home. So it was some sort of like arthritic inflammation, which evidently can be the result of some sort of bug, even in your stomach type of thing. And it's an unusual thing, but and then he ended up having a little infection in there, which had a bit of keyhole surgery to wash it out. It's a pretty quick process, and he was basically in hospital one night and out. So he's down here with us, and the plan is he'll stay with us till we head back to Joburg, and that'll give him enough time to be able to walk unassisted, and then he'll head home. But we're hoping that he'd be available for Bledisloe.
David,
Last question.
27 minutes ball of play for first test. Do you hope to increase that, or do you expect it to be pretty similar?
We'd like that to be higher. It probably suits our DNA, and the fact that there were a hell of a lot of scrums in one spot at various times meant that the game was stationary. So so I guess that's up to us. We need to be really accurate, and we need to be disciplined. And if we can hang on to a bit of ball, then we have an opportunity to stress them. But if we don't get that part right, then we play into their hands. So like I said, the expectation is our scrum will be a lot better. We think if they're forced to scrum square, not allowed to step sideways and walk around us, then we'll be able to stay in front of that, and we'll be able to obviously get footy going off that.
Great. I'll pull in some players for you next. Thanks, everyone.
All right.